Greetings! I am Herbert Erpaderp, and today I'm going to assemble these British A9/A10 cruiser tanks from the Plastic Soldier Company. Or rather, I am going to assemble an A10 using this kit that allows you to build either the A9 or A10 in a few different variants. It's been a while since I've built anything by the Plastic Soldier Company, so I figured why not do something for the early war British. This is a 15mm scale kit, as the box says in the lower right. That's 1/100th scale. On the back of the box we can see a side and top-down view of an A10 variant in green and desert paint schemes. There's also a list of suggested Vallejo paint colours and some text talking about what this pack contains. Let's have a look at those contents. There are 5 of these sprues. The first thing I noticed is there are 4 hull tops. Obviously we can only use one per tank unless we want to get really creative with magnetization, so there will be 3 left over. You could probably use them to make wrecks or conversions of some kind. All of the parts on these sprues are pretty well detailed and neatly moulded. There's a lot of nice rivet detail. I rather like that the tracks are a single piece. Before opening the box, I was expecting the multi-part track sets that are often included in Plastic Soldier Company kits. This is a pleasant surprise. There are also some quite neat looking handrail things on the side parts for the A10 variant. They look a little bit delicate, but they're nice details. There's a bunch of different gun options and different turret parts, but definitely only enough parts to build 1 turret per sprue, which is fine. It's better than all of the parts for 2 turrets minus 1 hatch or something, which does happen with some kits and I find it kind of annoying. In order to put this model together, we will need some instructions, which are of course included. This sheet shows us a rendering of all 5 variants the kit can be used to make. These are A9, A9 Close Support Desert, A10 Mark II Desert, A10 Mark IIA Close Support, and A10 Mark IIA, which is the variant I will be building. There is colour coding to illustrate which parts are used for which variant. The grey parts are common for all variants or optional. On the other side we have the actual instructions. These are fairly simple, though step 3 and 4 did cause me a little confusion because I wasn't paying enough attention. If you are paying attention, the instructions are helpful, though a little less than comprehensive. They only show you how to build the A10, but it's still useful as a basic guide. You just have to use your brain to figure out which details should be added for whatever variant you want to build. As usual with the Plastic Soldier Company, there are no decals included in this kit. I begin assembly by selecting the appropriate upper hull, this one, and of course the lower hull too. After removing the mould lines, I glue the parts together. It's not immediately obvious which way around it should go, but holding the parts near each other like so shows that I'm holding the parts back to front. This is kind of like test fitting, except I'd already applied glue and didn't want to touch the parts together until I was sure it was right. I glue them together the right way around, applying pressure to minimize any gaps. If you plan to magnetize this tank, you should do so before gluing the hull halves together. I've chosen not to magnetize these tanks. Next, I install the tracks. Here's where step 3 and 4 in the instructions tripped me up a little bit. According to step 4, you are supposed to attach the tracks as you are joining the 2 halves of the hull. Though step 3 says to join the upper and lower hull parts and it makes no mention of the tracks. It's not really a big deal, I just had to use a bit of force to get the track parts into place, which I was fortunately able to do without causing any damage to the parts. More clarity in the instructions would be nice, but then paying attention to the instructions is also important. In the end, the tracks do look pretty decent, and I'm still really glad they're a single piece. I then attach the lower front hull. This part goes into place quite easily. The protrusions behind the headlight ensure proper alignment. There was a tiny gap there, but you can barely see it on camera, and for riveted construction that's probably fine. At least it's not a good strong Soviet gap anyway. Next, I glue on this big boxy compartment for the driver and hull machine gunner. This obviously goes onto the upper part of the front hull. For this variant, I use the part with an opening for the machine gun. The other one has this part plated over. I push the part as far back as I can, but there's still a bit of a gap behind it. Maybe the Soviets did help to build this tank after all. I then tried to attach the right side of the hull. This was a little bit problematic. The angled part of the front plate under the driver's compartment protrudes a little too far to the right. To remedy this, I take my knife and trim down the sections of plastic that are interfering with each other. I'm obviously cutting towards myself, but I'm doing so in a pretty controlled way. Probably best not to do that anyway. After some hacking and slicing, I test fit the parts and now they go together in a more satisfactory way. so I glue them together. There's still a bit of a gap at the front, but it does go together much better now and it looks pretty good from the side. The left hull side goes together with much less hassle and definitely fewer gaps. I do like those hand railings, especially because I don't have to attach them myself. Next, I fill the hole in the front of the hull with a gun. This slots easily into place. I didn't try to push it in any further than this. I'm not sure if this is far enough, but it looks fine to me. You could mow down so many Jerrys with that gun. To complete the hull, I add the muffler. This isn't hard to install, though it can be a little bit fiddly to connect the exhaust pipe bit to the correct point on the hull. It's not perfect, but it looks okay. Now we can move on to the turret. I start by gluing the right turret side onto the base. The guides on the back of this part ensure it goes into place easily and at the right angle. Unsurprisingly, the process is the same for the left side of the turret. Next comes the rear of the turret. Be sure to use the correct part. There are two turret rears and they both look very similar. I then install the front of the turret, again making sure to use the correct part for the variant that I'm building. At this point, if you were magnetizing, you would want to put the magnet inside the turret before this next step, which is installing the roof. This is very simple, like the rest of the turret. The walls of the turret act nicely as a guide for the roof. I apply a little bit of pressure to reduce the gaps as best I can. It was then time to install the hatches. I start with the loader's hatch. I'm not entirely sure if this was the right part, because the diagram shows a flat surface here on the A10 Mark II instead of this hatch. I didn't see anything else to put here though, so it's what I used. There's nothing to guide this hatch into place, so I just had to nudge it around a little bit until I was satisfied with how it looked. Then the commander's hatch. This has a round peg on the bottom to help guide it, though there's no keying, so getting the part aligned nice and straight is up to you. The rounded bit, I think it's a handle, should be facing towards the rear of the turret. Next, the main gun. This is simple to install, just make sure to position it so the machine gun is on the right side of the main gun. The gun is tiny, so I obviously didn't bother drilling the end out. I don't have any drill bits or the accuracy to make a hole that small. In the end, it looks good, very turrety. Attaching it to the hull is a simple matter of inserting the pin into the hole, or it would be if the hole was wide enough. I fix that with my knife, and then slot the turret on, and that's one British A10 Mark IIA in 15mm scale by the Plastic Soldier Company completed. I think this is quite a nice little model. It was quick and easy to put together, just what I have come to expect from the Plastic Soldier Company. The only issue I had during assembly that wasn't due to myself not paying attention to the instructions was that excess material on the right front of the hull side that I had to cut off. Not really a big deal, but it might stump some less experienced modelers. The instructions could definitely be a little more clear, but they do the job. You just have to pay attention to what you're doing, which you should be doing anyway. Fortunately, most of the assembly of this model is pretty straightforward if you know anything about tanks. The end result is a nice looking model, which I think is a pretty decent representation of an A10. It would make a fine addition to a 15mm scale British force for games like Flames of War or Battle Group. I don't have such a force, yet. It's probably not something I'll focus on, but it's nice to do some early war stuff from time to time. So what do you think of this model? Have you built one? Have you any suggestions for other early war tanks you would like to see me build? Let me know in the comments section below, along with any other comments, questions or suggestions you might have. If you don't see a response in the actual comments themselves, check the next Ask a Herbert Erpaderp. I might respond to your comments there. Hopefully this video has been helpful or interesting. If you liked it, click the thumbs up button and subscribe and all of those YouTubey things. If not, don't, I guess. If you really like the things I do, please consider helping to support the channel via Patreon. Patrons get to see my videos a little earlier than everyone else, and they also get to see some bonus patron-only content. Click the link in the description or the Patreon logo on screen now. As always, I shall return soon, so until then, happy modelling and thanks for watching. Farewell.